content.
It's like quoting the Hackney Gazette and saying, here's an academic paper. Now, everybody at Speaker's Corner brings this thing.
No,
that
but we did justice to the Jews back then.
Some Muslims did great justice and great acts of kindness to
So
Jews.
what are you against?
and other ones
What's the
didn't.
main-
So I'm not against anyone. I'm here
Okay.
for love, mate.
So what's your issues with
I don't have an
What's
issue.
your point then?
So my point, we started the conversation on Sharia law, and I don't think Jewish law should run the entire world. I don't think Christian law should run the world. And I don't think Sharia law should run the world.
I agree with
The
that.
Christian Empire's dead, mate.
Depends on the necessities of each people.
That's why
Laws
I asked
develop-
you, and I said you're
depend
from
on the
Afghanistan. I don't see anything wrong with you saying Sharia in Afghanistan, but when you said the whole world, that was when I asked you, how would you put it in the whole world? Sharia, how would you do it in the whole world?
How people do it. I mean, authority should be given, like, for example, like authority should be given to the people who know Sharia. And
No,
then
but
they
how
open
would they
it.
rule the people who are not Muslims?
So like the
And
Hindus.
they didn't
Oh,
want
then
Sharia.
I don't know the details about that, to be honest. I told you before, I don't know the details.
And
I'm
I
not
would-
knowledgeable enough.
I would assume, can I answer for you? Non-violently, people read about Islam, they say
But I
this is
know
a
that
great
they will be
idea,
dealt
and
with
then they can...
justly. No, that's all I know. Because
Yeah.
justice is the main thing in Islam. Yeah.
And you be
but what
promoting
kind of
the school of
justice?
Hanafi. You said Hanafi, sorry.
There is one absolute kind of justice. Every people have their own justice. That's why we have different countries, borders, where justice is different. Like one country might want to follow a set of rules that another country
No,
doesn't
I
want to
think
follow.
justice.
God's law, innit? That's what I mean by justice.
Yeah, but that depends whether which God
I
do
mean,
you
justice
believe
is-
in.
That's very point.
Can I ask a question to do
I
with
mean,
all of
justice
this?
has a meaning, isn't it?
I would
justice
say-
is serving people the rights, the right thing.
The most
at the end.
The
successful...
right thing. What is
Yeah,
the right
more-
thing? The right thing depends on the necessities of each country.
No, but the Sharia law isn't objective. It's subjective. It's, like, for example, if you commit a crime, it doesn't have an objective thing. It has subject. Like your crime could be punished by 15 lashes, or for example, I'm just giving the harsh examples. You know, just 15.
More than
or
15 is
I
almost
mean,
certainly
if
death,
for dinner, for
basically.
example.
giving money, for example, some might be given 20,000, another might given for 40,
liberated.
50,000.
No, we're not
So
conquering.
according to that, you know what I mean? There's levels. I don't know if you get it.
No, I understand what you mean, but the problem is you're coming from the supposition that there is an absolute code of justice from God. And that's just something I don't feel very
But
I
if
would
you
go
believe in
one
God,
further.
you have to believe in this.
I would go one further
Why do
now.
I have to
I've
believe
got
in
one
this?
question to do with
Because
that.
if you're a man of faith, you have to believe in this.
Well, if I'm not a man of faith,
Where do you get your morals from?
So that comes to my personal view though. If I want this as a man of faith, then I'm allowed, isn't it?
okay, but wait, you want Sharia law, I don't want Sharia law. How do you solve the problem?
If I told you this is
I
God's
mean,
justice,
there's nothing.
There's nothing. War! War is the only way to solve it. If you are completely sure, no, that's the problem of the situation. If you're completely sure, you're not only that you've got the right answers, but your answers are the only right answers, then it's
It's my
inevitable there
personal. I
will
never
be
said
war.
it has to be.
There will
I
be war.
said my
God's
personal.
Huh?
it's God's law, not his.
Yeah, you think it's God's law.
So can I ask a really basic question
but
on
if I
this?
believe religion
We
is the
have
truth.
God's law, yeah, and you're saying it's the Sharia. And there are many, many Muslims living all around the world, yeah? Many of them have autonomy and have their own states where they try their best to implement it, and you'll have different agreements as to whether they do. Yet those lands, there seems to be an exodus of Muslims from those lands to Western democracies, and not the other way around. There's not many people going from Western democracies. Can I just finish? No, if you want wealth, go to Saudi Arabia, mate. They're well wealthier than me.
some
Like
of the
the
Middle
average
Eastern
wage in
countries
the
are the
Saudi.
wealthiest
So
countries in the world.
Let me.
Majority of
Can I
Saudis are
just?
not that
Can I
wealthy.
just finish my point? There is an exodus. Yeah. There is a pull of Muslims from both wealthy and non-wealthy Muslim states. And there isn't vice versa. The average Saudi is way richer than the average Pole.
Saudi's not that rich. Not as rich
Oh,
as
so you're saying that Saudi, the average national salary in Saudi,
the state is rich. I do agree with you, but I don't know about
the average salary in Saudi Arabia, in United Arab Emirates, is huge. But so all I'm saying is there is a draw.
There's also a big disparity of wealth.
let
There's
me
no
let me-
benefit systems in these countries like there is here.
Exactly,
That entices people to come.
Well, exactly. Why is there no benefit?
benefit. You can
But
Can
can
the common people.
this is my point.
Whereas in
This
there,
is my
it's
point.
only
Can I
people
finish
that
my
elite
point?
and
Can I
people
go?
have, money.
My point is very
There is
simple.
look, they have the Quran as their
If
law.
God's law
Why
is
it
the
not a good law?
Sharia, you'd imagine those states that are closest to Sharia would be those that offer the greater
is kind of
quality of
Sharia
life,
Politically, they can
that
just,
advance in the sciences, that
Politically, they can
drive
just
like
get the extracted,
global knowledge
whatever
forward,
they get,
that do things
not
like
the complete
increase
thing, they're all
lifespans,
political.
increase
It's nothing to do with
healthcare,
Islam.
improve
But
happiness.
things
But
that
that's
they want
not
from
that.
Islam.
That are largely
If you're
peaceful.
using the Quran
But that's
or
not
the
the
Bible,
case.
or whatever book, as the book of
And
law,
does that not make you
it
question
has a
maybe
lot to
that
do with the
democracy is a better
There's
solution?
it's, for
Then
example,
why
in
not?
Saudi Arabia, there's two types of
I believe the leaders are in
authorities.
charge today
One
are
is
just
religious
corrupt
authority,
puppets
and one is the
designed to
political
just destroy the
authority.
Okay.
But
The
it
religious
doesn't.
authority,
what I believe.
I
Even
think
so,
derives everything for the
that
like, how
corrupt
should,
nation
man
is still
do
closer
things
to
for the
Islam
people.
than America.
The police force, I think, this
No, so America is closer to Islam than.
No, I'll say the UK is
religious
very
authority, and the political
This
authority
country
is only
is closer to
controlled by the
Islam.
like. for
Let's do
example,
one conversation
Wait a
at a time.
second.
Because
If
I'm
now
more
there is
confused.
Sharia law, it means there's
I'll say
police
this
that
country
will
is the
condemn
closest
you
to
for
Islam than many
not
other countries.
going along
Many
with
other
Sharia
This
law, which
country
means
is
it's
closest to
religious
Islam.
law.
100%.
What
Automatically.
happens
There
if
were
I beat
Wahhabis
my
in
wife?
Saudi Arabia. As far as I know,
No. What happens if I beat my wife here?
ideologies than many other sects of
Miswak. What's a miswak?
which means
Besides something you
it
whack
has a
your
lot
missus
to do with
with.
religion. It's enthralled together, like the religious
Okay, and what
political
can you do with
are
your
enthralled
miswak?
together. In the beginning,
What does-
with Muhammad and the Rashidun caliphs, they were
With your
political
miswak.
leaders and also
also
religious
it's just
leaders.
show
You see,
authority.
Yeah.
it's
So
it all comes
to
together.
show authority.
So
When
What
you have
happens if
Sharia
you
law.
show
your point
authority
is,
over
if
your
you
wife
don't want the
in the
Sharia
UK?
law, and I want the Sharia law.
Yeah.
This country.
Yeah.
What's
in
the
this democratic
solution?
country,
Yeah,
you
what's
can
the
call the
solution
police
then?
and go
So
down the
how
legal
can you
route.
say that this country is closer to
simple
Islam
answer is, I don't know.
than Saudi Arabia or Iran?
For example, if I don't want
Yeah,
democracy,
it's a million
the same
miles from
thing.
the
If I don't
Sharia.
want democracy,
Saudi Arabia-
and
Like you don't have a vote, you don't have a
they
caliph,
want
you don't
someone
like.
else want
I think
democracy.
the general point
What's the
not
solution?
religious-wise, but in the way that
There'll be never
people
answer for
treat
this.
more
Correct, like,
fairly.
simple
Well,
answer.
People
there
are
is
treated
there is a
more
pretty
fair
simple answer. In the countries
Than
where
they are
people
in
want
majority
democracy,
Muslim
there will be
countries.
democracy. In the countries where
And then
people
you're
want
saying
Sharia,
that's
there will be
because this
Sharia.
country is more Muslim than those
If
countries.
there's
Yeah,
no
so I've been to Saudi Arabia. They don't care about anyone.
No,
They don't care about anyone
one
but
country.
themselves.
Just imagine one country.
I've been to Saudi Arabia.
People,
This country is the
both
closest to
like
Sharia
50,
out
they,
of my
they
humble
50-50.
opinion.
Yeah,
I've been
just
to a lot of Arab
hypothetically,
countries.
just
Okay,
and they say I want
homosexuality.
Sharia and I want democracy.
Legal or illegal in the UK?
Okay, no, that's a pretty different
Legal or
situation.
illegal?
It depends
Fine, fine.
the
Legal or
system
illegal in
currently
Sharia?
is. If it's 50-50,
Okay,
it's different.
slavery.
Because
Legal or
whatever
illegal
system
in
it is
the
at the
UK?
moment,
And obviously
you do an
then-
election and you find
Legal or
out
illegal
who's-
under Sharia?
Illegal.
Okay,
Slavery
so how
is
do you
illegal.
find
Muhammad
the
had
best
slaves
course
made.
of action in Sharia law?
Go down this route.
Who's the one
We're
who
gonna
decides?
disagree. Let's
I'm not expert in Sharia, but if
I
I
don't
was, I
believe
would
that.
definitely.
Why do you want it if you're
Apostasy
not sure
from
what it is?
Islam.
Like,
Legal or illegal in the
things I see
UK?
Sharia, how I studied the
In the
positive
UK?
things,
Yeah.
like the justice, the
Legal or illegal in Islam?
Okay, you can say justice,
No,
but you need to
apostasy is
define
not legal.
what
That's
is
your
the justice you
interpretation.
believe in.
Not everyone
Zina.
You can say, I
Zina.
believe in
Not everyone
justice.
believes in
Well, it's
Zina.
a very vague statement.
Legal or
I can say,
illegal
I
in the
believe in
UK?
good. I want to do what's good. But
Legal
what is
or
the
illegal
best
under
course of
Sharia?
action? That to
So,
specify
how
it's
can
very
you
important,
say
I
that the
think.
UK
That's
is
the only
closer
thing
to
I'm,
Sharia than all
saying.
these Muslim states, where all these things, some of these things are legal or illegal?
That's cool.
I don't have to explain.
That's
I know what
You know
you're
what
trying
it
to
is,
say.
we're gonna
Do you know? Do you know what?
An hour-long
Very
conversation.
nice.
Can I-
That's summary down
Can
to-
I say what I think you're trying to say? You're trying to say that the UK is amazing. It's a great place. We have freedom and equality. I believe that Sharia is a great thing and it has freedom and equality. Therefore,
Wait,
I
wait,
think,
he's doing his thing.
I think that the UK is closer to Sharia. The problem with that is, if you actually took the Quran, you took the Hadith, and you gave them to any average non-Muslim Englishman, British person, they would tell you that almost all these laws they disagree with. Like, why should it be illegal to have a bacon sandwich? Like, you try convincing an Englishman, and he can't have his bacon sandwich in the morning. Like, that's like the zina they can maybe live with, but bacon sandwich is.
Okay, let me give you an example. Yeah, say X country did have Sharia, and,
Yeah.
and a Christian community lived there, and they wanted to eat bacon sandwiches. Yeah, they're allowed to eat bacon
No,
sandwiches.
it depends on the country.
That's what I'm trying to say to you.
No, it doesn't. It depends on
because
the
they're not
country.
Exactly.
I'll
But
teach
as
people
I
the
said to you,
book.
this country is closer to Islam
Now, ask you
than
a
many
question,
other
dude.
Muslim
Yo,
countries.
Raj is
I'll
here.
teach
Look at
people
that.
of the book because I know under Dhimmi status it's so people of the book. So as a Sikh and a Hindu, we're not from the Abrahamic faith, so not people of the book. So when the Islamic conquerors come into India, when they saw the Hindus, they didn't give them the choice of the jizya. It was just sword to the neck.
I
or
can't
convert.
talk about that. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the fact. So there is this, when it comes to Sharia, it's nice for the people of the book to a certain degree. But for us guys,
My friends,
we're going to get the little
Obviously,
thingy.
I don't agree with that personally. I don't know if it's true. I don't know anything about it. I can't talk about that. But to
Well, I
me,
mean,
that's
okay,
not-
Hindu
can I give another example?
it's not my understanding of Islam.
The Middle East used to be full of Jews and Christians
Yeah, absolutely.
who were living under Islam. They've all fled. Why?
Economic reason.
Economic reasons.
there's a
So where
monopoly
did they
in the world.
flee?
Tell me why the Russian Jews and Eastern European Jews, and you are one of them.
Whoa. Say that again.
Why did you come here to this country?
Why did we come here? So I'm half Jewish, half
You're
like
Eastern
British.
European, aren't you?
You said you're Polish.
No, half British,
Oh,
half
go
Jewish
Indian.
Polish. No, not non-Jewish Polish.
Why did you come
Jewish
here?
Polish. Pardon?
Before you ask all these people this question, ask it to yourself.
Why did my family came to the UK because they were persecuted and slaughtered in Poland?
And the same thing happened to those people as well.
In the Middle East, that's my point. It isn't great for Jews and Christians living in the Middle East. I agree.
So you actually
That's
agree
why
with
they
each
fled.
other?
So
There's-
what about the Sikhs in
No, I'm talking
Afghanistan?
about Muslims.
There used to be
Everybody's
500,000 Sikhs and
being
Hindus in
persecuted
Afghanistan. Where are they?
nowadays.
They're still
Don't-
there.
don't-
No, they're
don't
not.
lie
Who's
only
doing the
a thousand
persecution?
yourself
Who's doing the?
and deny to other people.
They're
So
only a
my
thousand
point's
left.
really simple.
And my point is similar.
There's 1,000 people. There's 1,000.
That's probably true.
The Taliban
No,
and
other
they're
people
going
and
to repression of
not
the
put
Islamic
yourself in the first place.
So I do put myself in the first place. There's a million
Yeah.
Jewish
You know why he
refugees
came
from
here
the
to this
Muslim world.
country.
And I know why he came here, I just told you.
People.
Okay, so you're saying that the Muslims here are fleeing persecution
Yeah,
from
being
Muslims,
persecuted in their
from
own
other
country.
Muslims.
Yeah, there's an element of truth to that.
And that's my point. You would imagine if a religion was closer to the religion of truth, there would be less persecution, there would be less oppression, there would be less refugees because it's the closest thing that we have to perfection on earth. It would be heaven on earth. It would be the Garden of Eden.
No, but
You
the
understand-
countries,
listen, listen.
don't
Wait, wait.
completely follow the.
Yeah, you do understand
You know,
that
they-
most Muslim
most of
countries
the-
are
So it's
secular
Islam, but
countries.
it's not
We say
real
we have
Islam.
corrupt
Like my
leaders.
country back home, all
I-
secular
I-
countries.
we are
don't-
doing-
we don't
What's your
up-
country again? Remind me.
Just
It's
a country, yeah.
Which one? Eritrea?
Yeah, Eritrea. Listen, look, most of our countries are secular countries. We do not, the law that governs our country is not Islam. It's whatever policy there is.
But let's explore Eritrea, yeah? Eritrea, every Eritrean I know, well-read, intelligent, yet Eritrea is a nation, is in terms of like rankings on wealth and life expectancy, it just ranks right at the bottom. It's a nation that's ravaged by poverty. It's not
I'm
a...
from Somalia, by the way.
Somalia, okay.
Very close, very close.
It's similar. Somalia's been ravaged by war. It's like, and you would
Okay, my
imagine.
country, for example.
We
yeah,
believe our leaders
don't-
for corruption, not
our,
the
our
Islam.
leaders back in
You know
my
what I
country,
mean?
my leaders in my country, yeah, do not, the system they use to govern the nation is not Islam. They use tribal laws. They use something complete, they use a different system. They believe, my leaders, from what I know, they believe they cannot run their country using Sharia because the United Nations will not allow it. That's from my understanding of how I was, what I was
If
told.
the Sharia was perfect, why wouldn't the United Nations allow it?
That's a very good question. Let's explore that idea. I don't know. That's actually a very good
How is the
question.
United
Maybe there's
Nations
not enough
stopping
stones
Somalia from having Sharia? How is the United Nations? They don't have the power to invade you.
Because if Somalia unites under, for example, if any Muslim brings back Sharia law, then what do you think will happen?
But Sharia does exist in Somalia.
I think that
No,
would
it
be.
doesn't exist.
I mean, it becomes, it's a matter of debate.
We have tribal law. Tribal law exists in my
But they
country.
do implement
Yes,
parts
yes.
of the Sharia.
Huh?
They do.
No,
implement-
look, you're not listening. Tribal law governs my country.
What's the
Tribal
difference
law.
between tribal law and Sharia?
Because everything, tribal law is a man-made law. It's made by tribal elders. They
And Sharia
made-
isn't.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
Clearly.
So which country in the world has real Sharia law?
In my opinion, the closest one, this country. That's my opinion.
That's
my opinion.
Watch out, guys!
My opinion. Already,
I mean, you
Sharia's
can't
here.
decide.
You
It's
live
subjective.
it.
Okay, wait.
live it.
How is
Crazy
this?
when
How
Sharia
is
in
this
the
country?
UK.
How do you do that mental gymnastics? How is this country Sharia?
No. I mean, the values it holds, the values it carries,
For example.
is very close to Sharia.
What's an example?
Like many things, like workers' rights, treatment of people, law, like
What about religious freedom?
You know what I mean?
Freedom of
Integration, minority, all of this.
Isn't Sharia based on believing in Allah?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, well, he's saying
So
basically, he's saying
So
basic
the
values.
base
I can
things you
imagine,
need
like,
for
a lot
Sharia
of
is not here. Why would you say this is Sharia law?
No, I said the principles that govern this country are closer to.
What are the five pillars
Sharia.
of Islam?
Listen, we're going left and
sorry.
right.
Why
Listen,
shahada,
I said the principle.
salat,
The
zakat,
principle in this
hajj,
country,
and
the
so on.
principle is very,
How
very
many
close
of those
to Sharia.
exist in the UK?
That's my stance on it.
Well, he's saying the.
No. The five pillars of Islam. How many of the five pillars of Islam exist in this country?
You know, I mean,
No, but
as
Islam's
people
more
or as
about
an
tolerance.
authority.
I feel like
It's
you
more
don't
about
really-
tolerance. No, I hear you're saying it's
it's
more
more
about
about-
tolerance,
it's more
but
about
it doesn't
tolerance.
seem very tolerant when you ban anybody who isn't Muslim from the Middle East, from Mecca and Medina. It doesn't sound very tolerant when you
No, but
command
the
a
Mid-
different taxation system for
Jizya.
non-Muslims, and you actually don't allow pagans to live in that nation. It doesn't feel very fair when you say a man or a woman is subordinate and must obey her
Those are
husband.
your
It-
understandings of Islam. Those are not my understanding. I don't follow this. Whatever
so
this
you
is.
don't believe that the Quran says that a woman
No, I
should
don't.
should
No.
obey her husband?
No, not the way you understand it.
Okay, what does
The
that
way
mean?
you
What
interpret-
does that mean?
What does
A
that
woman
mean?
must obey.
For
A wife must
example,
obey her husband.
But it does
the
say
earlier
as in
example you
Jewish
said about the
scriptures.
miswak, yeah? The way you understood it and the way I understood it are completely different. So what do we do then?
That's just the problem with it. Sharia.
But I'm a Muslim telling you that.
But there
the
are other
miswak-
Muslims that say that. There are other Muslims that say we should drop gays off roofs. And you might not believe that,
Gays off
but
what?
they're both.
the highest
You've got a different interpretation,
No, it's not-
and that's the risk of having one caliph.
Listen,
If
our
you have one
mainstream-
caliph,
we always condemned ISIS. If you're talking about ISIS,
it's not just
building-
ISIS. It's very throughout history. If you go, Hamas were doing similar things. It's my point isn't like one particular system. Be it.
But so as the
it's
Israelis, they
step back
bombing,
one further. Step back one
Palestine.
further.
You are
You are two
putting
Muslims,
certain-
yes.
certain
You are
ones in
two-
this.
do you agree to the same Sharia?
I don't know.
Probably not. It's high. Okay, maybe you
There are
completely
many
agree.
sects,
Different
many
interpretations.
understandings.
This is my point. This is my
For
point.
example, even he said Hanafi, Shafi.
I'm
this,
Shafi, I'm
yeah,
Shafi.
So he's Hanafi, so you're not
Yeah,
even.
but we all agree with
but
things.
We agree on
don't-
maybe
don't-
95.99.
Yeah,
But not
should
100%.
No, like the disagreement is more like prayer. They pray hands
Our
down.
main
small
things,
things.
zakat, we feel five pillars are all the same.
this
That's
is
the main thing.
this is
The question should be, what makes him proud to wear this shirt? You know, where there is
That's
a
off
story,
that,
yeah?
off that.
Yeah.
we started there,
Yeah, we
Habibi.
can go for that
Habibi, we started there. You missed that
But you're
one.
going in circles.
Now, I'll be
you know?
real. This country is very, very close to Sharia.
No!
100%.
No,
I take
to
an oath.
Sharia and
Okay.
you.
I'm a
Shouldn't be
Muslim,
proud.
I
I'm
don't know
saying.
what makes you say that.
You mad?
I already told you the principles that this country carries.
Give me examples.
You want? I
You
already
said
gave you.
equality, but equality is something very vague.
Whatever the equality that this country
Can I ask you a
has, blah, blah, blah,
question?
blah,
Hold on,
blah,
hold
blah,
on, hold
answer
on.
your question.
Can I ask this individual question?
It's linked to Sharia.
Can I,
Like the welfare system, everything, all of those small things. Is
The
very-
benefits
Dude,
were
under-
cited by Umar
okay,
ibn
yes,
Khattab.
jizya,
You know that.
part
under
of
Sharia, let me ask you
The
a question.
benefits,
100%.
the
Under
benefits.
Sharia-
There is no jizya law
What is
here.
what? Okay, I said
I got Tourette's.
most of the principles. You know, I don't think you want to.
You know the
understand-
benefits.
I'm
The
not saying
benefits
this
were
country
started by
is-
Islamic
Listen,
civilization. Do you
I
know
didn't
that?
say this
Child
country
benefits.
you're
is
saying
a
it's
Sharia
similar, yeah,
country.
it's saying
Child
Yeah, I'm saying
benefits
it's similar. It has a lot of
established by,
similarities and things
Islamic-
that obviously
Fair
go
enough, fair
against
enough.
Sharia.
So
Wait,
under
let's
Sharia,
get this
hold on,
straight.
under Sharia, could a Sikh do dawah, like religious kind of proselytizing on the street?
Under Sharia,
Under
everyone's
Sharia,
entitled to
on the
whatever
street,
religion they want to
on the
worship.
street,
No, that's
and
not
convert-
true. If the people
and
in the
convert
book,
Muslims.
yes. Monotheists, yes. Not
I'll give
pagans.
him an example.
I'm a
I'll
Sunni
give you an
Muslim,
example.
yeah? I'm not a Salafi. I'm
We're
not
talking
a
about Hindus and
Wahhabi.
Sikhs.
Yeah,
Could we
I'm a
go
Sunni
to a
Muslim,
Sharia
yeah?
state
You have the
and
right to
convert
worship whoever you want to
Muslims?
worship.
No, we're asking, could I convert you openly in the middle of a square? We have a dawah, like a stall out, with Sikh literature saying convert to Sikhism, Islam is wrong. Could I do that under a Sharia state and convert you?
Sharia is
No, forget about religious freedom.
Is a tolerant
Religion, no, it's
yeah?
not tolerant. Don't
Very
lie to
tolerant.
me.
What? But that's your understanding.
We know in the
You've
Indian
had probably
No,
subcontinent,
better
he's
than
asking
that.
for
Sharia
your
was-
understanding.
Sharia was
Extra
implemented.
He's asking
for
for
being
your
a different
You
religion.
pay VAT, don't you?
Yeah, but it's
the
normal.
same.
Yeah, just as at one point.
Jizya.
No,
you
no,
don't
it
the same
changes.
rights.
It changes. There are times when the Jews were taxed
don't
so
get the same
heavily,
rights.
like literally they went bankrupt because they had to give it all. And other times they were taxed very little. It depended on the caliph. And this is
feel
the
like saying
problem with Islam and the Sharia. You have one man who may have a vastly different interpretation to you, and he may believe that actually it is the proper thing to do to execute people.
I agree with
If you agree with that,
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, then
Yeah,
fine,
yeah,
we
I do
agree.
agree,
Then
I
Western
agree with
democracy is
that.
better
But by
than Sharia.
stoning.
No, but different. Obviously,
stoning.
different
You
Muslims
see,
will have
different
different
would you-
interpretations.
would you say that, but 1,000 we won't
Different
say that.
Muslims will have
So
different
who has the right
interpretations.
interpretation?
The one who's
You.
the one that's the most pious. Let's leave it.
Do you
Okay, guys,
agree with
okay,
stoning
for adultery?
How do you measure that?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you measure who is the most pious?
With the bias meter. With the bias meter. It's like
He's
a
voted
thermometer, but
in.
it,
That's not how a caliph comes
measures
about.
bias.
A caliph is not voted in.
Go on, talk to me then.
So how is Boris Johnson's a bad example, but how does a prime minister usually find their way into power in the UK? They're voted by the people. How is there such a democratic system under Sharia? Do the people vote for the caliph?
Yeah, they give bayah.
Yeah, you give your allegiance to it.
No, you give your allegiance, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.
And then when those people, so let's say Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, yeah? People
No,
gave
that's
their,
a-
people gave
Umar
their,
ibn Khattab.
listen,
Umar ibn
Habibi,
Khattab.
listen. People gave their allegiance to him, yeah? He then went to try and conquer land, and it was very unfortunate for the people of, if he'd have managed to conquer all of the world, yeah? Then he would by default be the caliph, and that wouldn't be great for people, no?
No, it wouldn't be by default.
It wouldn't?
No.
Okay,
But
so,
are you saying that we like the Muslims don't?
Do you know how
we
many
as
Muslims are
don't
there?
believe like we don't use. We're not allowed to vote to choose. Is that what you're trying
you
to
can't
say?
replace your caliph. Yeah, so like if
I've never like choosing your caliph. You can use whatever system you want. There is nothing restricted.
You know who the caliph is chosen
from
by?
an Islamic point of view,
But
there's
the
nothing
people, the
restricting
authority,
me. If I wanted to, I can
most
vote a
authority
caliph
people.
So who are the most authoritative people today?
Today, what do you mean by today?
Because we're talking about today, we're talking about enacting Sharia worldwide. Who decides who's going to be the caliph? Who decides whether it's Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi or Majid Nawaz? Who picks?
What would happen? The people,
vote.
there is a good reason. The people who would pick, there's a process in Sharia called
You know what will
ijma.
happen? A
Ijma,
conference
where
will
the
be,
scholars,
all the leaders
where the-
from all the Muslim leaders will pick it.
Yeah, fine.
All the,
There's
that's
a
the most-
process called
the
ijma,
best- the
and
best-
within
best,
ijma you have
option.
scholars and you have chosen people. Now, within those men with the aristocracy will come together to talk about, but it won't be the ordinary layman on the
Yeah.
street.
And also, how do
Yeah.
those people come to be the respected, what did you call them?
Through their what is it? Through their
restricted to any
what is it, nobility or their own intellect.
So their own intellect.
Intellectual
So
people
who
will-
decides whether this person here, who decides whether Tyrion Lannister is
Tywin Lannister.
Tywin.
How about Tyrion? I'm way too tall to be
Israeli
Tyrion.
style of life, justice is the right way, is the correct way. This, in a current situation.
you're Jaime
what
Lannister.
Israel is doing.
My point
Tywin.
is, yeah, I'm
What
sure.
Zionism is doing.
I actually believe my point is, yeah.
What
I'm sure
a
us Muslim
layman?
people
How would a layman
can
know what
choose a leader
what to
or
vote
Khalifa
for?
using
How would he know?
the normal voting system?
He wouldn't.
There's nothing
He should
restricting
stick
us
like
from using
he's
that
a layman. He just
That's my point.
he doesn't know anything. He's just a
That's my
layman.
point.
Whereas the authority, they know how the country works, how the diplomats and what to do, what not to do. If most of the votes will come from laymen, if the elections happen, all the laymen are more majority up land, they will most likely choose wrong person.
Yeah, no problem. But politics is also the affairs of the people. That's what we're discussing.
Sharia has got flaws, yeah.
So, my
Tell us,
interpretation, why
are you
not vote?
following the exact example
Just
like
logical,
Zionist and Israel? It is the correct way to follow?
No, I
Are
don't
you-
think
are you-
Zionism is the correct. It's not a political system. It's just the belief that the Jews have a right to an ancestral home. Separate conversation. I know you're desperate to talk to me, and we can do it after this one.
I have a question to ask.
Yeah, can we stay on subject and then we can do it after?
I have a question to ask.
Do you believe that Jews are better than others?
No, definitely not.
Okay, that's
They are
Now,
more
in
successful
regards
though
to
in
the
a lot of ways.
Sharia,
Why is
both
that?
of you are Muslims
Why
and you
is
like
this-
the Sharia,
Big
I
up for
respect
that,
that.
big
But
up.
what you
I
need
mean,
to understand
maybe I am,
is that
but-
the Sharia is implemented differently in different countries. I come from Nigeria. There are 36 states in Nigeria. 9 of those states have implemented Sharia since 2000. Since 2000. Now, one of those states, Zamfara states, I managed to get their Sharia penal codes. So I looked through it. Within there, when it comes to the worship of traditional beliefs, it says it is punishable. And within that state, it is punishable by death.
Traditional belief like
Yeah.
worshipping idols.
Yeah, they have their shrines, their idols. Now, to them,
Tell them
in
to
their-
read Surah Al-Kafirun. Tell them to read that.
but this,
That's my response.
yeah, but they say within that penal code, that Sharia
believe it to
penal
be the word
code,
of God.
it says if you try to do any form of worship that does not venerate Allah, if you're invoking worship that does not venerate Allah, that is punishable and it has by death. Now
By
that
death?
is the way they have implemented Sharia in that state. So I'm assuming different countries, when they implement Sharia, will have their way of doing it.
There's only one way, really and truly. It's one man that came. These are all interpretations, isn't it? Yeah.
All right.
So as a country, you should choose
In the
someone
Bible it
who
says Allah.
follows the teaching of the Prophet or the teaching of the Sunnah as closest to that madhab. You understand what I'm trying to say?
But I understand, but it's a lot more complicated. Because you look at the Quran, you
If
look
you
at
look
the
at the world,
Hadith.
if you look at the world today, for man, it's
make it
look,
complete?
look at all the Muslim nations. Yeah? Their leaders are nothing but puppets. We are, I believe, this is my belief. Yeah, we are designed to fight each other and kill each other.
I usually do, but I'm doing this
There are
conversation
leaders
now,
out
and
there
then we
that
can
do
talk
not
about
represent the
Palestine.
people. They represent the interest of the whoever they're there to
Yeah,
serve.
they're dictators,
Yeah,
they're
and
corrupt.
so we're going through a little phase, and slowly we'll come back.
Maybe you will reach the time when you had your caliphs from
No,
the
it's not about
Abbasid
religion.
Caliphate and the Sharia and
Before we
the
even get
fact
to, before we even get to caliphate.
Oh no, to the first one under Muhammad. You want that's what you would like that type of
Alhamdulillah, yeah, that's the most accurate and the closest.
I have one question because I don't know. You're talking about Sharia and caliphs. Can a woman become a caliph? Because if you're taking Sharia to avoid the law,
Right in the Sharia.
brings up
That was like a right in a noggin.
50% of the worldwide population against it. Because a woman can't be a leader.
Bring the woman into the camera. Go, there's a camera there. Go on, you're going to get her in there.
No,
She's a new caliph.
Mainstream,
The new caliph.
thing, I don't think the authority is given to women. I'll be honest.
Yeah, from my
Mainstream.
understanding,
I
when it
don't
comes
think
to women,
authorities, I don't think is given to women.
yeah, they could only take in
Oh,
terms of leadership.
sexist.
No, it's got nothing to do with
Nothing
women.
to do with equity.
There's
I
hadith
mean,
that says that a woman
that's
can
how
be
Islam views it. And
but she can reach high, powerful positions like.
scholarly, Aisha
Scholarly,
radiallahu.
Why can't she?
Yeah, but I'm asking
Because-
if she can become a caliph.
No, she can't.
She can't.
Oh, okay.
You
Why
are the
not?
caliph
Why
now.
not?
We've made you
Why
the
not?
caliph.
These are not my rules.
No, but you said they're perfect, so why not?
No,
And it should be easy for us to understand if it's
Can
perfect.
a Jewish woman be an authority?
full
No,
well.
can a Jew?
You know
Can a
full
Jew
well.
woman be an authority?
Yeah, can a Jew woman be an authority?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not advocating for the world to be under
It says
halakha.
that there's a role for a man and a role for a woman.
Look,
Are
it's
you
kind
saying
Am
that
I-
women should be in the kitchen?
No, I'm not
Oh
saying
no!
wait.
I clearly said that women can reach high.
That's bad.
He's putting words in your
I'm
mouth.
just
He's
asking.
putting words. You just
I'm
don't
just
answer.
asking.
So I
Women
haven't.
can be judiciary.
Can I just?
It could be whatever.
Can you just explain? Because if it's a perfect law, it should be really easy to explain
our
why
women are
women
queens.
can't be the caliph. So could you explain that?
Can I explain it?
Yeah, 'cause it's a-
I don't think I could do it justice, but from my understanding,
We're not knowledgeable enough. I'll be honest.
I don't want to talk
Both
about. I
of
don't want
us.
to act like
I
I'm the
can
most
tell.
knowledgeable.
Can I give a
Particularly
reason?
this topic.
Can I
I
give a
don't
reason
understand
why I think a woman can be a caliph?
Go for it. I would love to.
Like
But
if
it
you
doesn't
look
say
at
in your
some,
religion.
no, I mean just can rule a nation. If you look at the United Kingdom, you look at someone like Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, she was one of the most successful and well-known leaders the UK. That she was intellectually capable. She commanded the respect of the nation. Many people do. We made lots of songs about her up north, but she was capable of leading the nation. Yeah.
But women are given
And I would
authority
say,
over-
I would say she was more capable of running the nation than almost any Muslim ruler I can think of in the modern world, who's running their nation. So can you explain to me why these male Muslims are more qualified than?
Okay, if you look at history, all the leaders, from the beginning, from most of the leaders in history, we'll say 90 to 95% are men.
Oh, you should get into the camera a bit, because it is about females. So let her get.
No,
in
I'm
there.
just saying, these are
It looks
not
like
my
you're
rules.
oppressing her. It looks like you're oppressing her. Get her in.
These are not my rules. I don't. I'm just.
You look like
from
you're
my
oppressing her.
understanding.
Let her.
in terms of
So you're
No,
saying,
in women in Islam, women are given authority over other women.
but not over men.
No, over men.
But why?
Oh yeah.
No, I don't know.
But you just accept it.
Why
Why
do
do
you
you just
I'm just
accept
giving
it?
Islam.
Wait, guys. Why do you follow something you're not knowledgeable about?
No, because
because
listen,
I know Islam is
there's
truth.
a lot. There's so many
It's
categories.
truth.
yeah.
What
Yes.
makes you say that?
The prophecies,
The prophecies, did you put them through the test?
Yeah, of course.
Well, why are you not knowledgeable about it then? Every Muslim, every
prophecies.
Christian, every Jew should be a scholar by what they say, by the conviction with which they're saying it.
Certainly-
But when I put them
No,
as
listen,
questions, they always say,
listen.
"Oh, I don't know."
It's not that I don't know. When I say I don't know, I'm not saying I don't. I'm not knowledgeable enough to give you the answer you deserve. That's why I say I don't know. I know it in principle.
What answer works for you then?
Why do you guys
I don't.
not
I don't.
discredit
Listen,
then if you don't know about it?
No, I would
you're not
love someone to
knowledgeable.
come that can give you an answer that does justice. I'm not that person. That's the
I'm
reason
looking
I
for
say
that
I don't know.
someone. I hope you guys get some better people
okay,
than the Dawah.
forget maybe you won't convince us, but what convinced you that a woman can't be the leader?
Orders of ours, like for example.
Yeah, because you're saying you don't think they should be.
I'm not the most
Don't be glad to talk to you about.
You don't have to be the most
I don't know how to
Hashim
answer
will
it.
be glad-
I don't know how to
Hashim
answer
won't talk to me,
correctly.
honestly.
And
I spoke with him one time,
skip this question.
and 2 times
Personally,
actually.
innit?
And
But
he
you're
will
both
never talk to me
advocating for
again.
Sharia law, which means a woman can never be the ruler of the world.
Basically, he
No, but a
admitted
woman
on the
could be many
conversation
other
that he
things.
does
Why
not
did-
know
but
what
why are you
history
so
means,
fixated on that
what the
she
word
becomes
history
the
means.
leader?
Woman can become.
He doesn't know what's the difference
Because I like women.
It's a Eurocentric idea.
You're oppressing her.
Prehistory is
You're
it's not
oppressing
history.
her.
Before prehistory means if nothing was.
And we
recorded.
Do you know what it is?
we started with the Sharia is
The
equal,
captured moment.
and you then said that the UK is closest to the Sharia. So we gave a basic principle of the UK that men and women have equality under the law and can
Let her be
potentially
the
become a
caliph.
leader.
was invented. It's
And so you're saying that
Hashim didn't
Okay,
know
in
that
simple text,
when I
Islam
spoke
is
to
more of a is it more of a paternal religion?
Patriarchal.
religion.
Give her the
And-
hand of the
and-
king, sister.
And that's the most simplest way of.
But why should it be? Why is that good?
Why is that good?
Why is it good to be patriarchal? Just out of curiosity. I'm not saying what my beliefs are. I'm just asking, why is it good to be patriarchal?
Why is it good to be patriarchal?
On what?
Like
In
convince
Islam?
us that women
Because
shouldn't
we
be.
believe it's truth, and everyone should be guided to
But
truth.
my question is, what's wrong with patriarchy? No, what's wrong? No,
So I'll give it. So
he has the right to do that. He has the
I'll
right
give
to
I'll
do
give
that.
an example.
I don't know. I don't have to answer. But you
I'll give an
He
example.
has the right.
Tell
He
us
has the
why
right
it's
to do
wrong.
it.
Could you-
Just the same
let's
way
ask
you can
the woman.
ask.
There's a woman here.
Why?
Could you please
why
tell
no
us?
women?
No,
You
tell
can
me
ask
what's
him
wrong
why.
with it.
woman,
Listen.
Let her talk.
Joseph, right?
Because
Tell me
we
what's
can't
wrong with it. Tell me what's
Okay.
wrong with it so I can understand it,
I'll give-
and I might agree with
I'll
you.
give my perspective. I think women. Sorry to mansplain. I think women are as capable.
That's what I was trying to avoid.
I think women are as capable intellectually today as they were historically. Women were denied education in most civilizations, which meant that the men were more capable of leading because they were literate, they were educated, they were strong. That's not the case today. Society has advanced to a state where men and women have access, certainly in the West, to the same level of education and are just as capable of ruling a nation. Therefore, I do not think women should be denied the right to rule just as men are able to rule. Both. And so that's why I don't believe that having a system where only men can rule is a good system. It's very dated, it's primitive.
And look back in history.
I don't think that's
But we don't rule
So
by
I've done my time.
But
Your
We
go.
don't rule by man-made
I wouldn't
things.
know how to-
We don't rule by man-made
These are not
laws
my
anyways.
rules.
Let the
I didn't
woman
make this
talk.
up.
Let the lady
Ruled by the
talk.
God's
Don't be
laws.
sexist, guys. Come on, come on.
We
We're
believe
trying to
in
have a
God.
Come on,
conversation.
no. Let the woman talk.
Yeah,
It's
but
good
don't
to
make
have
it go down
female
that
Jesus,
direction.
You're
avoid
talking
them,
about female
avoid
issues.
them,
Let the
man.
lady talk.
No, but don't
Avoid
make it go
it.
down that direction. Have a civil conversation.
Yes.
It's a very good conversation.
Let the
Very
lady
civil.
talk about feminism. Look at this. One guy before said it's like a sausage party, and I really can agree to that because
stop
now
forcing
we are
yourself to laugh.
in the topic of feminism, and a woman can talk.
Feminism? Who's talking
Or
about feminism?
feminism or patriarchy or whatever.
Okay, we can
you
speak
know.
about feminism. Fair
I-
enough. What do you want to say?
I don't know what we're getting point, but my point is just if we are if you are proposing there should be a law where a woman cannot be a leader, then it's not fair thing. Because we should have a system, and we have it in the most democratic countries where everybody, besides his sex, besides his I don't know what abilities, could become also a leader.
Do you know why we agree with that?
I respect that.
That everybody
Yeah, we
decides.
respect your view.
I can tolerate
But
that
we
view,
follow-
but I don't know how to give
We
you
don't
a
follow
satisfying
man-made
answer.
law. If it was man-made,
These are not
everyone
my
would
laws.
agree
I
with
didn't
that.
come up with
But
this.
we
Not
follow
man-made.
Islamic law.
Can I say something? If this is God's law, then God has been outsmarted by a woman. No. Because she's given a satisfactory answer, and you guys can't.
No.
Check
Okay, wait.
no.
Wait. You explain. It says in your religion as well. How you explain?
Yeah,
I'm
Abrahamic
not-
religion.
wait,
So I'm saying categorically to the camera, to everyone, the world should not be under Jewish law, 100%. Democracy is much better for the world than Judaism. Zionism's just a political belief that Jews have a right to a home. And the world shouldn't be under Zionism, the world should... So,
But listen, most Abrahamic religions are
Patriarchal.
but
It is what it is, isn't it?
But if someone wants to
And he's
argue,
gotta teach us.
any Christians or Jews in the audience want to argue why women should be under men, please step up, because at the moment nobody is able to explain, other than saying it's truth, why women should be under men
No,
in
but
today's
he
day and
gave an
age.
interesting answer, and correct me if I'm wrong. He said that we do not follow man-made laws, that the laws that they follow come from their God, Allah. Now, if within the Quran, I'm not an expert, or the Hadith,
It can be subjective
Yeah.
all the time with man-made.
Yeah.
But objective is you
and
can't
that's
make
it.
changes
So
to
I'm
that.
assuming that within the Quran and the Hadiths, it is very specific
Yeah,
in
you have
saying
to
that
detail,
exactly.
yeah.
So that's what they're following. So that's.
As I said, it's
But-
not man-made law. These are God's law, innit?
But it's
You're
not-
making
God
it seem
knows
like
more than
you know what it
you,
is.
more
You're
than
making
how
it seem
more
like
than
I
everyone. And we
the
believe
men
that.
went
If we
out of their
believe that,
way
you
to
can't
create a
argue with that
system
point,
to
can you?
demonize women. It's not.
So
it's
you're
not
saying
how-
God went out of his
but
way to
later
demonize
on-
No,
women?
I don't know.
That's
because
why-
I
That's
know
your
what
words, not mine. You said
obviously
demonize.
God's understanding
you're a
can come with
person who
wisdom
thinks
later
Sharia
on.
is this mad thing.
I just don't think Sharia is the best system to run the world by today.
I do.
I think it does.
So explain to us why women should be
Why
under
is no
men.
country under Sharia
Under
then?
men, why do you say that? Why do you use
Because
that word?
because
God's-
in a
God's
hierarchy,
man-
if
God's
the man
law
is
is
at the top,
objective.
the
Why is
woman
there
is
not a single
underneath.
country under Sharia? Full Sharia. Ask him if they were so good. Why is not a single country under full Sharia? Not even Saudi Arabia.
I've answered that question.
And the Jews fled. There's no Jews left in Muslim countries, mate. There's 3,000 Jews left in the Arab world, down from 850,000.
Just like in Israel, no Palestinian left. Likewise, you know.
There's 20% of there's 2 million Arabs live in Israel, just so you know.
Only there, pushing
No, so
out.
they're growing. They
Second
started
class
at
citizen.
600,000.
Second
They're now
class.
2 million. But separate conversation. Back in the room.
Do you think they are given equal rights in Israel?
Separate conversation. We can come to that. I do Israel Palestine all the time. I just wonder somebody who's Muslim
No, but you're
to
Zionist.
explain. Yeah, we can get to that. I just want someone to explain why women should be under men. If it's a perfect
Our answer
law.
from religious view, we think the law from God is objective. It cannot be changed. We might not understand it now, but wisdom comes, as I told him as well. But man-made law can be always subjective. You can always be, everything can be ruled out and put a new thing in it. So there will be no end to that. But whereas God's law, we understand, we say it's truth. We cannot, it's ultimate truth. So we have to follow that.
But we
There's
can't
no-
always understand it. And it doesn't
Well,
always make
of
sense.
course
No, but
you
I
can.
think it's a
Of course
small
you can.
Okay, so if
wait,
we can
guys,
understand
wait,
it and it
wait,
makes
wait,
sense.
wait. Why?
But later on-
Wait, guys. Shaitan tries to deceive you. Is that correct?
Correct.
How do you know what you're explaining us now is not the deceit of Shaitan? It's the law of Allah. How do you know that?
Very philosophical.
How
I
do
don't
you
know how to
know
answer that.
the things you're explaining us about Sharia, about all that stuff, is actually the law of Allah, of God, and not
Hadith and
the
Quran.
tricks of Shaitan?
Hadith and Quran.
You've been told about
that's
the
an hour
Quran by
conversation,
people.
separate,
You've
that's-
been explained to it by imams. How do you know they were not controlled by Shaitan?
The whole of the Quran, because we have
Inevitably, it
because
went
we have
through
history.
people to get to
History
you.
doesn't lie.
No,
I mean,
Yes,
You
it
read
does
text.
very much.
You read
No,
text,
but you're
text,
taking the
text.
discussion down a different path. You're going back
No,
to
but
like
that's the thing.
yeah,
It's
but-
because it always comes to the one thing. I believe in God, and thus what I'm saying is truth for me. It doesn't go anywhere. It just won't go beyond that point. If we don't doubt whether what you're saying is actually, let's imagine, Allah is real, Allah is the real God, and all that stuff. I don't know the words. Sorry. Either way, how do you know that's real Allah and not Shaitan deceiving you?
Because
You keep saying you're not knowledgeable enough. You need to be knowledgeable to
Okay,
know that's
well-
real Allah and not Shaitan.
well, the Quran is the very.
Allah. You can determine whether it's shaitan based on the character of the shaitan. The shaitan is there to lead people astray. So, by extension, what he calls to would be misguidance. So, if we ascertain that what we have in this book is actually good and upright for society, right, and not to their detriment, then we can sort of 90% or unanimously ascertain that this is something at the very least which is upright and going further than that is from God.
How do you ascertain that?
So then we have to go by case to case basis.
Yeah, we have to give
let's-
some evidence. We have to explain
Right.
why you
So-
believe in Sharia,
Right.
and you can't just answer, "I'm not
So-
knowledgeable about
No,
it."
no. Okay, but I haven't heard anyone say that. Though.
That's because you're new to the conversation.
Why you keep
okay,
explaining,
listen,
guys,
you can't-
to them? You know,
but
they
you
keep
can't hold
asking
one
questions.
Muslim,
Ask them questions.
Yeah,
They
who
should
may not be
explain
knowledgeable
themselves,
about
you
all
know.
the rules that Allah has commanded, and say you're bound to answer. That's part of knowledge. Saying I don't know. I think that's from humility. If
fair
he
enough,
just
fair
stood here and said, "Yeah, I know everything,"
They ask
and
you
then
questions.
proceeded to
Isn't that
talk
your
rubbish.
whole point? To believe that your belief is real and it's the only real thing. It's not very humble, is it? Like the belief in Allah is the only real thing.
No. That is something. Everyone has their journey, and anyone who believes in anything believes what they believe is the exclusive truth.
Yeah.
There's no mathematician out there saying 1 + 1 could be something other than 2. Is there?
Well, the Quran is not a book of maths, is
That
it?
wasn't the question.
Principles are the same.
All right, let's speak about the example of 1 + 1 equals 2.
The fact of the matter is that ideologies all profess to be truth. Yeah? Unless they're all the same, only one of them can be true. Or they can share truths, but ultimately they cannot all be the truth,
the
pure truth,
unadulterated truth.
And there's one that trumps one of them.
Right. So what's upon us is to actually go through the systems, right? And like I said, put forward criteria to ascertain: is this something good or is this something bad? Via that method, we can, in my opinion, ascertain whether it's from God or it's not.
So if it's good or bad, is that subjectively? So it's an example. I think slavery is bad. Yeah. Right. I don't think it's great. No. It is. Muhammad had slaves. I think slavery is bad.
No, he always encouraged freeing slaves.
Slavery is a part of Islam insofar as Allah has not forbidden it.
Yeah.
Not to say that Allah has encouraged it, but He has not forbidden it. So it is permissible for people to have slaves.
And so, do you think that is? Can I? Do you think it's morally okay to keep slaves?
No, I believe there are circumstances.
I think that's a fair question to ask him because the Quran doesn't state about it.
On a normal basis,
it doesn't say with your right hand you can possess.
On a normal day-to-day basis, living with my neighbour, I don't believe it's permissible or moral or to kidnap. In a time of war, I definitely believe that slavery is a viable option. I believe it trumps.
Do you know what breaks my heart? When a black man stands there and starts advocating for slavery.
Please don't. Because
you're
supposed to be Jewish and a follower of the Torah, and the Torah does not forbid slavery.
And I say on camera, slavery is immoral.
Well, you can say that, but at the end of the day, you can't stand here and say,
why is slavery immoral?
Because slavery denies man liberty and freedom, or woman. You effectively take possession of someone. They are yours. If you choose to have children with them,
are you not the possession of God? Are you free? Are you free?
Am I free? Yes, I have free will. I have agency. I can do what I want. If I tomorrow want to pick up a bacon sandwich, I can do that, and there are no repercussions for me in this world.
But do you believe in God in the end?
Do I believe in God? Yes, I'm an Orthodox Jew.
Yes, you believe in God. So aren't you a slave of God by your definition?
So I don't. So again, no. We have freedom. I believe in freedom. I believe in free societies. And I believe I have the freedom to eat a bacon sandwich.
But if you eat the bacon sandwich, if you don't follow God's rule, you go to hell. It's as simple as that.
That's not Judaism. That's not Judaism. We don't have hell.
You don't have hell.
No. All the commandments are there to refine your character. It's not true. So what's the word for hell in Hebrew?
So what's the punishment? That Judaism has no concept whatsoever of an afterlife.
That's not what I said. I said there's not hell.
Where one will be either rewarded for their deeds or punished for their deeds.
Yeah. So Judaism as a religion, and it's a separate, but we can go there. Judaism as a religion speaks very little about what we call Olam Haba, the world to come. Right. What it focuses on is Olam Hazeh, this world.
But is there a concept of the afterlife?
Hear me out, let me finish. All the commandments that Jews are commanded to follow, giving charity, establishing legal courts, all of those laws are there to either refine society or to refine your character. Right, it's not about reward and punishment. I mean, reward and punishment does feature in rabbinic commentaries, but that's not. Heaven and hell isn't mentioned once in the Torah, in the Old Testament.
Okay, fair enough.
The 5 books of Moses.
Can I ask you a question? Are you a moderate Jew?
Am I a moderate Jew? No, I'm a fanatic, mate.
So what I don't want to get bogged down on is
so do you believe in good deeds and bad deeds?
Yes, there are definitely good deeds.
So how is that going to help you later on?
So I'm an Orthodox Jew. There isn't. We don't have the concept of moderate. But if you want to say, am I like so I follow all of the commandments. And so I'm what's called Shoma Mitzvot. I observe the laws that we're supposed to observe, but I would say I grew up in a liberal Western society, and that has shaped my worldview as much as my religion has. And I believe in freedom and equality. I believe slavery is immoral. It doesn't matter whether...
So you believe that
you would go against your own Torah?
That the God of Israel, right, when he permitted slavery, was being immoral at that time.
So again, just like Islam, Judaism doesn't command you to keep slaves. It does command you to eat bacon, but similarly, it doesn't forbid it.
There's no command in Judaism to take people as slaves.
So no, we are not.
So when Moses was told regarding sparing the virgins of that community and killing any of the women
Moses didn't kill.
Had known known a man. Is that not something? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just putting it to you because it's something that I thought I knew.
So the Torah documents Jewish history. Yeah, it documents there are things that happen in Jewish history that I don't think are great. I'm talking as an individual. I'm not representing Orthodox Judaism. But driving people from a land, I don't think is a good thing. If you measure Islamic law. Islamic history or Jewish history, by modern standards, it falls way short. So when Jews went into cities and conquered and killed, that's how people waged wars back then, and it was gruesome and it's horrible. I wouldn't say that's how you fight a moral war. Similarly, when Muhammad beheaded 600 Jews, that wasn't moral.
A moral war?
That wasn't moral.
What kind of war is moral?
So I would argue
a war of self-defense is moral.
As man has advanced, code of conducts have become established, like social contracts, the Geneva Convention, how nation states should behave at times of war. War is horrible, war is bloody, but we try not to slaughter children. And if a leader of an army slaughters children in today's generation, they're brought to international court. So that's how I'm stating. Like, war is horrible, war is not a good thing. But that you can commit crimes within war that go beyond the pale.
Okay, you can have unnecessary cruelty.
Yeah.
Can I zone in? Because Pavlov is a different kettle of fish. But when I
you think
when I speak to people of Abrahamic faiths who espouse that, the slavery like this or parts of their book are immoral, I say, by what standard then are you a Jew or Christian? If you have this book which you declare to the rest of the world, right, is the book which is the guidance or which is sent or divinely inspired by the creator of all of this that we see, right? But then you pick up parts of it and say, no, I believe that bit's not moral and this bit is moral. Then
you're judging Judaism by Islamic standards. So Judaism's very different. So I'm just going to explain.
No, you said Islamic standpoint. I'm saying this is. I haven't always been a Muslim, so this is a standpoint.
That's fine. That's fine.
Prior to Islam.
I'm just trying to explain how Judaism works to you.
Yeah. But okay, fine. Go ahead.
We have the majority of Jewish law was instituted not from the Torah. Sorry, I've got something on my throat. It was introduced by men, by the men of the Great Assembly, the Beit Din HaGadol.
By what kind?
So we believe that man has the power to govern and establish societal structures and laws.
Right.
And that there isn't one set that just stays, and this is the perfect code for humanity in all time. Okay. Judaism is very flexible and it adapts to the times it's in. So, as an example, the prayers that Jews say, the blessings they say on food, the complexities of how societies are structured were all introduced by men and codified in the Talmud.
Right.
And so this is how our religions differ. Sorry, I really need a drink of water.
What about the 10 Commandments?
The 10 Commandments is a very Christian concept. There's 613 commandments. I mean, there are 10 commandments, but there's actually 613 in the Old Testament.
Weren't they originally a Jewish thing?
So they absolutely are. But as an example, you have like a commandment in the Torah not to cut yourself because pagans used to cut themselves. This is getting really on a tangent. We can get back to Shariah and the fun stuff in a minute. But the rabbis also ruled that you can't set up competing religious courts in the same city based on this commandment that says you can't cut yourself. The two things don't say the same, but man has, according to Judaism, the religious court, the Supreme Court, which is like the Supreme Court here, has the ability to institute new laws, which they often attach to these biblical laws, which are often completely disconnected. And so all I'm saying is Judaism is a very, very manly religion, and this is what it comes down to me. So this is what it comes to. Toxic masculinity. This is what I'm trying to say.
Bro,
when I asked both of these gentlemen here and yourself, like, why is it that a woman should be denied the ability to rule a nation? No one's been able to give an answer. And for me, that's in Judaism. And in Western society, in Western society, we're taught the question.
Aisha was the head of Khilafah, wasn't she?
Pardon?
She was the.
I love it when the Muslims ask the Jew about the.
No, because you tell me about my religion. Sometimes I have to confer with you.
Women can take roles of leadership. They just can't take the ultimate of the leader of state.
Yeah, that's how I understood it.
Same with people of the book.
So Allah has said in His book, الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. Men, are the maintainers, or they are a daraja, a degree above women, because of that which Allah has favoured them, some of them over another with.
To be the maintainers.
Here you have a verse where Allah is telling you what the pecking order is.
So God prefers men to women.
God has preferred men to women in terms of virtue.
Virtue. So men are more virtuous than women.
Brother.
It's not a competition.
They have.
It kind of is.
It kind of sounds like
Allah has said, clear. Like it doesn't really need an interpretation. Allah has said that men are the maintainers of women because of that which Allah has given them of virtue. Right? That doesn't mean they're virtuous over women in all aspects or in all doors.
So in what aspect are they more virtuous
in terms of their strength and in terms of the fact that they spend on the women, generally speaking, and it's not all men, because Allah has said it is a virtue that He's given to some of them over others. Strength, money, the ability to be hunters and go out and provide. Yeah, we live in a modern situation where men and women equally have equal opportunity to go out and work and earn. The world has not always been like that.
Exactly.
And it will not always.
Come to the modern world. Come join us.
And it will not always remain like that. You see it like that now, but there's no guarantee that it's going to remain like that. The system
that Sharia is implemented.
The system that Allah has put in place, right, is one that supersedes all the different changes in status quo. Generally speaking, I don't like. Here, we live in the West, and they've put forward things like equal rights, but not everywhere in the world operates like that.
But is it better to have equal rights?
It's better to have equal opportunity.
So opportunity for women to rule.
No.
Then how the hell is why not?
Ultimate rule.
Why can't a woman rule you here? Are you smarter than Margaret Thatcher?
No, I'm not smarter than Margaret Thatcher. I'm not.
So why can't she rule you?
I'm not saying she was the prime.
I know.
Prime minister.
I know she's capable. Was she as capable as a man?
I'm saying,
but she couldn't
Allah
be the
knows
caliph.
best what she was capable of. I don't know what she was capable of doing. I don't know Margaret Thatcher. What I do know is that Allah has said that this status is for a man. So I'm not going to stand here and you might disagree with it, but I don't see anything in that command which is somehow oppressive to the woman.
You don't say. So
I don't see how saying a woman cannot be the state leader is oppressive to women.
Really?
Yeah, show me how.
Okay.
Demonstrate.
So it means that only a man can be the ultimate authority.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a man is responsible for determining how that entire
Allah
society
is the
functions.
ultimate authority.
Allah is the ultimate.
And a man is the next one down. Yeah.
No, there's no next one down. Allah is the ultimate
So what's
authority.
a caliph then? What is the caliph?
The caliph is the person who
The
takes
amana,
God's
he's
law.
entrusted with the amana. All he does is fulfills God's duty. That's it.
God's
There's nothing
law.
more. That's it.
So this is absolutely
Let me
bonkers.
ask you a question.
The amana is entrusted upon him. Which is
What
God's
is bonkers about the idea that God has legislated laws, right?
We
That's
just maintain
from
it.
God's wisdom, right? And he has applied it to us and expects us to carry it out.
carry it out. That's it.
There are, for example, no one says, how is it that women don't have to pray sometimes, but men are always obligated to pray?
Because that's what the Sharia commands.
But is that oppressive to men and women? Is
So,
that oppressive to men over women?
denying women access to the same things as men, many people would argue it is actually.
No.
Well, can a woman give the call to prayer?
I don't know anything that says she can't.
Okay, so why do we never hear it? I thought you couldn't, but
I don't know of anything that says they can't. If a group of individuals then come out and say no, we don't want the woman's voice because of X, Y, and Z, that's something that you need to criticize them for. But as long as it's not.
Should a wife obey her husband?
Yeah, a wife should obey her husband according to the Torah and the Injil and the Quran.
So perfect. So here we go. So a woman cannot be the leader Yeah.
She cannot be the head of
She can't be the head of state. Fine,
Right.
fine. Call it what you want. The woman can't be the head of
because
state.
Don't say call it what you want, because I'm saying there are other positions of leadership that women can uptake.
But she can't be the head of the state.
But she can't be head of state.
Okay, perfect. A wife must obey her husband,
Right.
and you're arguing that this is equal.
So the wife should disobey.
The wife is only commanded to obey the husband in obedience to Allah. If the man orders her to do something oppressive or something that is unjust or unright, she does not have to fulfill that command.
If she doesn't fulfill it, what can the man do?
What are you going to say? He can beat her?
Can he?
That's what you're going to go.
No, I'm asking.
No.
So what's
no? The man cannot just beat her because he said, "Oh, go and cook biryani," and she didn't. No.
So in what context can he hit her?
The Quran is clear where it mentions about nushuz, right? For what I understand about nushuz is when a woman is going out in about like an explicit kind of mad way, right? So the verse talks about admonishing them and then right. We're talking about
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Now, if a man goes out and he puts his little speedos on and he goes down Soho, he goes out, he acts immoral. He wears skimpy clothes. He starts flirting with other women. Can the woman beat the man?
I don't know. No.
It could be.
Listen,
Listen, the Quran it says the men are the maintainers and protectors.
So the men are the protectors, and they protect and maintainers, and they maintain and protect them. By beating them, then the women don't behave appropriately. But it doesn't work the other way around.
Wait, that's your interpretation.
That's why I'm asking.
No,
I'm asking you guys.
Your interpretation.
I'm asking the questions.
You're the only one that believes in this version of Islam.
Yeah, I don't understand why we don't look. Male dynamics and female dynamics are different. They're not always, it's like saying that, why can't a woman stand up and pee? Like she's like her anatomy, just doesn't make it. It's not a savoury thing.
What has that got to do with the equality of opportunity?
What I'm trying to say is there are rules. There are rules that favour the man, and there are rules that favour the women.
We look different. That doesn't mean one of us should rule over the other.
Our nature is different as well.
Our nature's different.
No one's ruling over no one. You're entrusted to fulfill God's law.
Let me give you a different example.
The women were protecting the men from that.
Let me give you a different example. Why is it that men are obligated to go out in the field and fight jihad, but women are not?
Oh, that's a good answer.
Okay.
What? Because Islam is a patriarchal religion.
How many women are
So if in the modern world, Aki, you asked me the question. In the modern world, women fight on the front line. So if you look at the Kurds, one of the things that the West celebrated or got really excited about was here was a Middle Eastern people where the women and the men not only had the same opportunities within the nation state, but they were also on the front line.
Nah, they were celebrating the fact that they didn't have to put their own soldiers on the front lines. That's what they were celebrating. Outside of that, forget being
British Army women who can involve.
A patriarchy.
I don't think it's a very good idea, honestly.
If you're going to go down the line of it being patriarchal, Islam definitely is patriarchal in terms of the leadership and the representation is via men, right? Because that's what generally the world ties in and represents strength. No, it still does. Regardless of if you want. Listen.
Margaret Thatcher, as we have established, was a capable leader.
How many?
Theresa May, capable person. Golda Meir, capable person.
They're very masculine people.
Listen,
Do you agree? They're very masculine men. They have to be honest.
Theresa May was given vote of no confidence, right? She got put into forget the women anyway. Why is it that? Why is
Forget them women.
No, I'm saying why is
Keep
it
them
that,
in the kitchen.
No, I'm not saying.
Wow.
I agree. Be careful. No. But I'm listen to what I'm saying. Even what you're talking about Bhutto, when Benazir Bhutto was there, she didn't have the respect of the whole nation. Generally speaking, even Hillary Clinton, when she was vying for her position against Trump, there's no.
Well, in the UK,
there's a lot of women asking for their rights.
I'm sorry. So can a female leader ever have your respect?
Can a female leader?
Head of state. Can a female head of state?
Depends. If she commands respect, then she commands respect.
So then why can't she be the? So you're literally accepting that women can command your respect?
I'm not dictating to anybody how they want their country to be, right? Allah has already dictated how the the hierarchy goes. I'm not going to put myself against that hierarchy for some sense of modern Western good value.
But
Like,
surely if it's a perfect law, you can explain it. Something that's perfect should be easily
the perfect
explainable.
law is that the men, a man being the head of a country signifies strength. Through all the times, women that were leaders, were not looked upon as...
Have you heard of Golda Meir?
I've not heard of Golda Meir.
She was
Yeah,
one of
these
the...
are outliers. We're talking about outliers.
From
From a
Germany, we have Angela Merkel.
Merkel. Who's Merkel? Who's Merkel?
She is the highest.
But historically, there have been women. You've got Catherine the Great, Elizabeth I.
I think
can we just get...
Merkel is a bad example. Merkel is a bad example.
But truthfully-
she's been messing up the country. She's been
Let's
messing up
compare.
the country. Merkel, yeah. She's been messing up the country.
Do the neo-Nazis in Germany have any respect for Angela Merkel?
That's how we measure success now.
I'm saying,
That's the point of a leader, isn't
I'm
it?
talking about unanimously.
And only a man can command the respect of the neo-Nazis.
Listen, I don't know why we're fighting it. Generally speaking, a man being the representative, when we go back into history, it's always been men who have been conquerors and leaders of the communities, and they fight.
Mostly,
No,
not
because
always.
women are suppressed. Because even listen, the fact is, Islam saying the woman can't be leader of the state doesn't mean she can't put forward ideas. The Prophet, peace be upon him, the Prophet ﷺ used to consult his wives before making decisions. They are key. Even in a Muslim household, I know it might seem, some people make it seem like so. Chill, brother. I'm trying to make a point. Chill, brother. I'm trying to make a point.
He has no chill.
Look, I often bust a joke with my friends to say that anyone who thinks Islam oppresses Muslim women, should look at a married Muslim man, right? I'm not running things in my house. And I know many other Muslims that are not running things in their house.
Because you don't exist in a Sharia state.
No, it's got nothing to do with Sharia state.
Okay,
I'm saying
that's how we started the conversation.
I'm saying, are you telling me that the Prophet, peace be upon him, never had any respect for his wives and subjugated them, and never ever consulted them in these decisions?
I'm saying his wives, wouldn't have had a say often in how things were. If Muhammad is the Prophet of God and he says we're going to do A, B, C, his wives can't say, no, Muhammad, you're wrong. I'm going to eat this bacon sandwich.
Only when Allah declared the matter, it's not for anybody, man or woman, to challenge the decision of Allah. Allah makes that clear in the Quran.
So how do you know when
what I'm talking, because a revelation comes down to say this is the instruction.
How do you know that Muhammad isn't just lying? He's saying, Aisha, darling, Muhammad's telling you that you've.
That's a completely different topic. Yeah. For now, let's just say we believe in what the Prophet Muhammad said and what the Quran says.
But he said that hours ago, Joseph. What he just explained, he mentioned that.
Which is
what he said, that when they follow, it's down to Allah. And the advice of
He's explaining in more detail.
He's explained it better, but he said that close to an hour ago, but you still wouldn't accept it, and he's now explained it even more. But I see you're still not accepting.
So maybe I'm struggling. How do you know? Just very quickly explain. When Muhammad is just giving his opinion versus when he's saying he's receiving revelation.
When the revelation comes, it's penned down as revelation. So when Muhammad speaks in Quran and he's reciting,
but how do they know to start writing? How do the Sahaba know to start writing?
He might order them to start writing.
Perfect.
Or he recites it to them.
Perfect. So it's down to Muhammad. So how can a woman, if a man says, if the Prophet of Allah, if he says that I am now giving you a commandment, God is telling me now that you need to make me a sandwich. How can she say no? You're lying.
Forget the lying. That would be a commandment.
So whatever Muhammad commands, Aisha has to follow. Sophia has to follow.
Yeah, anyone that he commands, anybody, they have to follow as a command from the messenger. Right. Whereas what you're doing is saying that Muhammad, whenever he goes places, he just says, "I command you to do such and such." No, Muhammad had relationships with people, right? So when it comes to wartime, Muhammad never said, "This is what Allah has ordered." He consulted Khalid ibn Walid for war strategy. When they were digging out the trench, it wasn't saying Allah told me to dig out the trench. He said to his companions, "What are we going to do?" And they said, yeah, we've learnt this technique from the Greeks, we've learnt this from the Romans, we've learnt this
So
from
how
the
do you know?
Persians.
So as an example, let's take the Battle of the Trenches. Let's take that. When the Jewish boys and men were beheaded.
No, they weren't Jewish men. They were Jews.
When the
Get it right.
Okay, when the Jews were beheaded, was that Muhammad or was that Allah?
Was that not the command of Sa'd?
So I'm asking you.
Right, so when we were talking about Bani Qurayza, right?
Yeah.
When Bani Qurayza, the judgment wasn't passed by the Prophet Muhammad. The judgment was passed by a former ally of Bani Qurayza, right? And I believe he might have even been injured in the skirmishes. He's the one who said, kill off all the combatants. Now, my thing is, people complain about the aftermath of Bani Qurayza. Whilst Medina was being besieged, I don't hear any outrage. I don't hear any outrage from Jews or anyone else to say, why, when these people had a contract with the Prophet Muhammad to protect the Medina when it's under attack, why did they leave him to his own devices? Why did they betray their pact?
We're going off on a tangent.
No, it's not a tangent. Let's go back. The Bani Qurayza were not killed for no reason.
The only recorded history we have of the Jews getting slaughtered comes from Islamic texts. There's nothing in Jewish text. There's nothing in Christian text. It's all preserved by
the
Muslims.
Christians were really nice to you, weren't they?
The
Christians were really nice to Jews in Europe.
Depends where and when. We're not talking about
So
Europe.
what are you
We're talking about the Middle
then?
East.
But you're saying the only history. You said the only history.
No, I'm talking about the only recording of this event comes from Muslim biographers and from Islamic sources.
Okay, so you have nothing from Jewish sources.
No.
Right. So then you don't even know what you can't even ascertain what happened.
Perfect.
So then,
this is my point. And so when you read Ibn Yitzhak, the big
Ibn Ishaq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you read him, he doesn't say that. He says that Muhammad commands that they bring the heads of 600, or I can't remember, is it 600 or 900? I think it maybe even gives that it was the count.
Have you read into the tadif or the tawfiq of those reports?
So I've only read it in Ibn Ishaq. I'm not a Muslim scholar. I'm just saying what I've read. I'm just saying what I've read.
But I'm saying these are the things that these are the things where people need to ascertain. You need to ascertain the strength of.
Can I just finish my point?
Go ahead, but I'm saying you need to ascertain the strength of a story before you relate it.
So I'm saying all the strength of this story come from Islamic sources. Yeah, they don't come from Jewish sources. They don't come from Christian sources. And some of them are pretty gruesome accounts, like beheading people, bringing their heads in batches. Doesn't sound that great. And so when I was asking, is this a commandment from Muhammad or from God? That's what, for me, seems really important.
There was no revealed verse or hadith from the Prophet that said Allah has ordered me to behead 600 people. The story is quite clear. There was a man appointed to judge between Bani Qurayza. They said, we will only accept the judgment of such and such, believing that it would favor them.
So if it's in the hadith, is it a commandment?
No, the hadith are just
Okay, because you said in the hadith.
Okay, so when you talk about hadith, hadith are split up into athar.
Christian versus Muslim conversation.
Look, I'm saying people
I'm going to go home
Jewish
as well.
versus Muslim.
Yeah, no, look, hadith and athar are different, and sometimes it's just tariq, sometimes it's history, but they're all lumped into the same category of hadith. Now, if we're talking about seerah, right, the seerah might be the reporting of what happened, but it may not. A lot of seerah, in fact, is weak. Let me just state that now. Those Ibn Ishaq, and there's another one, Ibn Hisham, and At-Tabari, and those are the three. Everyone who wants to try and destroy Islam, watch them. They will mention Tabari says, Ibn Ishaq says, and Ibn Hisham says, and they are categorically known to hold many weak reports.
Okay, so fine, let's ignore it because we've gone on a massive tangent. Let's stick to the Quran.
Cool.
The Quran explicitly states, explicitly states that a woman should obey her husband. You've given a justification for why you think that is, because men are the protectors and stronger. Yeah?
Yeah. Though the Quran says that.
Okay, the Quran says, and you're quoting the
Quran says it
and
is.
so for me, that doesn't tally up to the modern experience.
Yeah, but what's so great about the modern experience?
Then
We're not entitled to modern experience.
Then
We
why?
don't accept-
This is the thing I wonder. I ask every Muslim. Yeah,
We respect it,
every
we don't
Muslim.
accept it out of
If
creed.
Sharia, if
know what I
existing in a state where women need permission from their guardian or their husband
to do what?
To leave the house or to travel.
Who says they?
No, I'm giving examples. I'm giving examples of oppression.
That's not. Okay,
I'm giving
but
examples.
But he tied it into the no, because he's tied it in with the Sharia.
No,
There's a principle in Islam. لا يجوز تأخير البيان في وقت الحاجة. It's not permissible for you to delay clarification in times of need. You've attributed someone saying that the woman cannot leave the house without the permission of the husband. Yeah, which is I beg anyone to bring me any Islamic proof, and I'm not talking about statements of scholars. I want a verse or a hadith that says the woman cannot leave the house without the permission of her husband.
No, it doesn't teach that. I could say that. I'm not even.
If we're talking about traveling, Allah says about the woman who believes in Allah and the last day, she should not travel without a mahram. Right, and the traveling is a distance that is determined by the people that vicinity. So that's not we go into flipping Tesco's. That's if I'm traveling from. In those days, Ta'if, on a horse or a camel to Mecca, 3 days and 3 nights, dangerous journeys. The women are regarded, the Prophet called them qawarir, vessels, fragile vessels. You know, like glass, right? So this is the.
Funny, he said this quite a few times. That's why I wanted to carry
but I'm
on
saying. They don't seem to understand, or I don't know if they understand it or not. But the women are held in a position of protection. Now I acknowledge that a lot of men, a lot of brothers, sometimes are oppressive in their opinions to the women. But I'm saying, tie that to Islam, tie it to the actual verses and the hadiths, and it's not present. Yeah, I'm someone I often I've said quite recently. I'm someone who I try to champion the sisters in their rights, in what they're able to do. So when brothers have said to the sisters, "Don't come to the park," I've said to them, "No, come to the park, contribute." You know, whilst other people might say, "No, don't do it," but I'm saying, as far as I'm concerned, the Quran and the Sunnah are present, right? If there is nothing from the explicit wording of the Messenger, right, or the Hadith, then you can't bind me by it. You can't bind anybody else by it. So I need someone to tell me or show me where a woman can't go leave her house without the permission of her husband.
I know where they got it from that cultural. Listen, let's move on.
My wife leaves the house all the time.
Yeah, I know. My mum leaves whenever she wants.
But that's not only the point though. But it's we've taken one branch of Islam and companionized it. What about the fact that the woman is more deserving of the obedience of her children than the father and his companionship?
Islam, brother Joseph is talking about is Wahhabi Islam. He's talking about.
Nah, leave that talk there. That Wahhabi Islam talk on that, because I am someone who I see myself to be a follower and a taker from Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. Yeah, 100%. So when people start saying, this Wahhabi nonsense, I know there are some people that attribute themselves to that, but now people need to stop being lazy and distinguish. Some people.
I only know one face, innit? That's why I said it.
No, most people only know one face because there's this negative. The thing is, even the terms where people call themselves after people, I don't feel comfortable with it. Yeah, if we're gonna name ourselves after people, as far as I'm concerned, I would rather I should be a Muhammadi first. Yeah. If I'm not Muhammadi, then who should I be? Or I should be Bakri or Umari or Ali or Uthmani. All these names, and I understand, they are sometimes identifications of the jurisprudence of some people, but sometimes it's like it's lazy. Someone misinterpreted a verse, and then they blew themselves up.
All the different verses, all the different hadith that relate
what
to a
in the
woman.
statements of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab make that a Wahhabi action?
Not use it against him. He just asked me, is it based on the hadith?
What is that understanding?
The idea with him, man, use the Quran, man, because it's more clear in the Quran, bro.
That understanding.
Hadiths, bro.
I'm not even trying to get on.
You can't use hadith to have a conversation, bro.
What you're regurgitating is what other people
the Quran explains a lot of things clear,
Saudi shares Muslims shares
I have
Islamic
these
understanding
books.
with
I
other
have
countries.
these books, but I don't read them. I like
They
the
share
Quran. I like the
like
Quran.
Kuwait,
Love it.
like Sudan.
I don't follow religion, bro. I don't follow religion.
What other
I'm an
countries?
Israelite,
Some
but don't
some
follow
scholars in Bahrain.
Okay, tell me, what is Wahhabi then? I've never.
So right, so
Quickly summarize.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
just
good talk.
Muhammad ibn
Abdul
Abdul
Wahhab
was what
I'm
18th,
gonna.
18th,
Oh, guys, it's getting too late.
18th century scholar.
Yeah, Muslim brother.
He was around where people.
Christian.
No, I wanted to stick on this.
I'm
this
just gonna
show.
get back to my wife.
No
Like
worries.
she
No,
rules me.
Joseph, next week,
So,
I want
Joseph,
to
hold on,
continue this
Joseph.
because
No,
you're
no,
someone.
I have a question for you.
You're someone who's supposed to be a follower of
Me
the
waiting.
Torah.
Yeah.
It's alarming to me when you say these things when I know they're explicitly mentioned within your book.
So we can talk about that next week. But the only thing, there are plenty of hadith here which I'm reading, which talk about a woman seeking permission from her husband. And there are actually hadiths saying that you shouldn't prevent her from going out to the masjid. So if she
Yeah.
wants to go to the masjid, you should always grant her permission to go.
Right, so
Now,
that's-
if you
yeah.
didn't have autonomy over whether she could leave or not leave, why would the Prophet have to explicitly state that if she wants to go pray salat at the masjid, then you have to go let her?
Because they would prevent their women from going to the masjid.
Because they have control over where.
No, not because
Yeah,
they have.
You
no,
don't
not because
understand
they
the
have
value of
control.
women in Islam.
Because they would prevent.
It's all modesty, it's covered by all that.
You've mentioned one hadith which actually
No,
goes
there's-
against what you're saying, which the Prophet is saying, don't prevent your women. Don't
Do
force.
not prevent the female slaves of Allah from going to the masjids, and their homes are better for them. Their homes
That
are better
holds
for them.
for them is an idraj, which is da'if again.
No, it's all hadith. Sorry,
No,
don't say that. Say
and
that again.
their homes are better for them is an extension to that hadith, which is da'if, as in.
What's da'if mean? Just
Da'if means weak,
Weak.
inauthentic. The
Oh, so these are inauthentic.
Wait,
No,
is
listen,
that
no.
from
The
that
first
was, I think, it was
the
Bukhari.
first part, look,
Bukhari.
the first part is sahih. So you will find the first part in all the collections, and then in one part you find, and their houses are better for them. It's idraj and it's da'if as well. These are the things.
When
And-
one's
and I'm
wife,
so-
this is Bukhari again. When one's wife asks permission to go out, in that, now it's in brackets, so it doesn't actually say this.
Right,
To
so
go
what's
to
the
the
brackets
masjid
mean?
or for any other reason, such as attending the Eid or visiting a sick person,
Eid.
he should not prevent her. But there are all these laws saying in the context of when you
Eid.
should grant permission. Therefore, the inverse.
No, it's saying do not prevent, not grant permission. Do not prevent them.
For
Do
these
not
specific
infringe-
tasks.
Do not infringe upon
But
them.
if she wants to just go out, the man has the say whether she can or not, because she's commanded to obey her husband, which is Quran. We can
Commanded-
go to the Quran, which explicitly states you obey your husband.
Brother,
So if your
okay.
husband says you can't go out,
So-
unless it's to go to the masjid, or in this hadith where it's saying to
this
visit the
is
sick.
this is your own fiqh, bro.
Yeah,
This
that's
you-
what I said,
you-
there's no
you-
point
This is
of
your own
arguing. Okay,
jurisprudence.
Please
fine.
understand
I'm saying to you,
Sorry, Eesa.
show us, yeah, where if clearly you would be able to find, yeah, many reports where Aisha and the wives of the Prophet came to him and sought his permission before leaving the house. But we have many hadith of Aisha interacting with Muslims outside of talking to the messenger, right? Where there's no request for permission. We have many women outside of the home.
Okay, let's
Without asking for
me a really
permission.
simple question, and just to understand your understanding of Islam. If you're existing in a perfect Islamic state, not the so-called Islamic state, but a perfect Islamic state where you have a caliph and it's all peachy, and a woman wants to leave the home, and the husband says no, and the husband says you can't, is the woman able to leave the house?
If the man says you cannot leave the house,
Yeah.
on what basis?
He says that he doesn't want you going out because there's lots of men in the market, and I don't want you going to the market.
Do you know what? I'm not sure about that, to be honest.
I can answer that question either.
I'm not sure about that.
All right, now that one, guys, I'm going to go. It's been a pleasure.
Hold on, Joseph.
We'll walk and talk, because I'm going to really let my wife.
All right, when we want
I'm not sure about that because it would depend on whether I don't even know.
But the question would be why would the husband
We're
say that
not
in the
knowledgeable
first
enough
Yeah.
to.
I wanted to
understand.
ask
Like I
you,
said in the
because
beginning.
my
starting point was, and that's the thing I don't understand, and that's the thing why I think the Sharia isn't fair. Is can a woman become a caliph or caliph, and she can't? That was what you or guys over here told me, and that's why I'm thinking.
She can be many other
we
things.
work out the
No,
Ashkenazis,
but
and
it's
they're
not
to do
about
with
what
Israelites
we
in the
can
Bible.
be.
It's the only
and
thing she
any
can't
other
be.
thing.
The
It's-
thing is, we're not trying. Our idea is not feminism. It's not feminism.
Remember
Our,
verse.
Can she get the
our
same
whole
position
ideology is not
as
based on
men?
Can I be a
feminism.
mother?
No,
Can I be a mother?
that's
Can I?
That's a natural thing. That's something about biology and not something about
The
believing
biological
or,
laws. The biological laws are determined by in my opinion, by the Creator. The same way the Islamic laws are also determined by the Creator. Men have roles, women have roles. Let's stop conflating and saying, oh, why can't women do everything men can do? Why can't men? We can't.
The problem with today's society
is
women want to be
It's
man.
nothing about biological ability.
Is she
Women
Israeli?
want to
Is
be
she
man.
Israeli? Are you Jewish, babes?
Huh?
Are you Jewish?
No.
Are you Christian?
Why I feel like the feminist
Atheist.
movement makes the woman man and man like a
believe in
woman.
God?
That's how I
Not
understand it.
really.
The third wave movement. It's mostly like that. I'll be honest.
I-
Taking roles of
I
man.
was just
There's-
bringing up the point because
I hear you.
I mean, you guys are discussing all the topics and you're discussing it of a really manly point of view, and I think that yeah.
What's manly about it?
Do you
What
think a
makes it
woman
manly?
actually wants to lead the Khalifa? Like, why would you want to do such a job?
From your man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to
It's my role to maintain
I don't listen to BBC. I don't listen to ITV.
For me to argue, well, hang on a minute, I spend my money with
But you don't think that's kind of unfair?
No, I think it's good for family setup. So the man to go out and be the maintainer, the woman to be the mother, which is a special job. I'm not saying that women can't go and work, I'm not saying those things. I'm just saying there should be an exception to a very different role.
That's the thing. The role of the mother is kind of undermined, like in the Western society.
In Islam, that is such a special. I would say maybe one of the reasons why we don't want women leaving is because the mum is such a special. I think I can't imagine a mother being that focused on the job of her children. That's my point.